Among the Lakota Sioux, for example, glowing coals were placed in a bison horn packed with partially rotted wood that would burn very, very slowly. And the person designated to carry the horn led the way to the new camp and began the next council fire there. It strikes me that for most of us, in most of our lives, most of the time, that's our task too. That's who we are. Our part in the coming of God's realm in the world is to be keepers of the flame of God's love and justice, to keep those embers alive, to pass them from hand to hand, to hold that warmth and fire high for one another in times of darkness, trusting that everything we do, small or large, is part of the advent we have all been waiting for a very long time. The other night at our Justice Coordinating Team meeting, we reflected on some of the ways all of you have served as keepers of the flame for social justice this past year. Some of the things we named were turning out for the Pride Parade and festivals to support LGBT rights and identity, forming the Make a Difference group to promote voting and to counter the politics of division, attending less than exciting church and community meetings. And the person who brought this up actually said boring church and community meetings, where the seeds of social change are planted. And that was the insight that Jay shared with us, that he said he finally realized that the seeds of social change are often planted in relatively boring and mundane meetings where justice is plotted. Daring to self-examine as a church community during our Lenten study on white privilege, and then taking action recently by supporting the Austin East girls soccer team. Showing up for justice in Knoxville through Justice Knox. And for the undocumented, showing a welcome to the undocumented in our community through the work of our accompaniment team. This is our task. Our part in the coming of God's realm in the world is often somewhat hidden, but it's to be keepers of the flame of God's love and justice, to pass it from hand to hand, to hold it high for one another in times of darkness, trusting that everything we do, small or large, is part of the advent we have all been waiting for a very long time. The days are surely coming, says the Holy One, when I will fulfill the promise I made to the house of Israel and the house of Jacob. So strengthen your heart, sisters and brothers, the scripture said, and be alert at all times for the coming of the Anointed One. And I would say for your chance to be part of the dawn of God's reign in the world. The community of faith has been hoping for a very long time, wrote one biblical scholar. The community of faith has been hoping for a very long time. The substance of that hope is deeply rooted in our scriptures, he said, and takes the form of trust in God's intention for justice, peace, and well-being for all God's people. In Advent, the church watches intently in order to notice where God is doing justice and peace and well-being. Wherever and whenever that happens, God's promises are on the move toward newness. Our task, our calling, is to notice and to respond with eagerness and joy.